could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello everyone, today we're meeting Kyle Newell. He is entrepreneur, CEO of Newell Strength and Ripped, also the author of the Panda Diet. Hello Kyle, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Anna, thanks for having me. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yes. So let's start our conversation by diving into your personal journey of becoming the person you are today. What led you to discover your true passion in life? How did it start for you?
Be honest, it was back in high school. I was always an athlete, and then really getting into training a little bit, and to the point where about midway through high school, I got really into wanting to train and put on muscle, really to build my confidence. And what happened was the gym, the hitting the weights and all that started becoming my main passion over the sports. And then I just kept carrying on. So I always had a love for the gym and just training hard. And, I've been fortunate that that's what I've been able to do as my career, is help people with that, inspire them to get in better health and realize that, they don't have to be like the masses of people that don't have good health and that don't age the best.
So right now you are coach to a lot of people who would like to find their passion in life and what exactly will bring them that fulfillment. What would you say the most important kind of like daily habits that we should focus on to incorporate in our routine in order to set ourselves for success?
Great question. I'm a big believer in a consistent morning routine, right? It doesn't have to be this crazy elaborate thing, but a key, consistent wake up time, and then knowing, okay, what am I doing first thing in the morning? How do I get in the right state of mind? What do I have to do as far as getting actual work done instead of putzing around for 3 hours, right? I believe that's set up the night before. You use your daily planner night before you set that up. And then on top of that, like when I do my planner, I always make sure there's something for exercise. You can't, in my opinion, exercise is too foundational and it's too powerful on your brain to miss a day. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be in the gym every day, but do something, go for a walk, go for a run every day, because you get all these feel-good chemicals and growth factors to your brain only through physical movement. It's the most powerful drug in the world. It's going to optimize your performance and your confidence and your self-belief. So that's got to be a foundational thing too. There's got to be some type of fitness. Start where you're at, but make it a daily thing.
Right. Fitness is very important, and for us to find our way to incorporate that on a daily basis is important. And we, like you said, it brings you just better mental state as well, because it's all connected, all of those chemicals, bloodstream in your body, and now you have that extra support to kind of focus on what's important in your life. And also, I know you created the Panda Diet, your own type of diet that we can start, looking into as different ways of bringing ourselves into that type of mindset as well. So how do you think diet affecting our way of feeling, and what is, important, again, factors in the diet that we should consider?
Great question. The main thing, what I've discovered over all the years in my Panda Diet, what it's based in is fasting, the practice of fasting. And if you had asked me back when I started bodybuilding and all that, I was against fasting. I didn't know that much about it, but I believed all the myths that you're going to lose muscle, you're going to go into starvation mode, you're going to get weak, it's impossible, whatever. You need to eat every few hours. And then over the years, the last time I competed, 2014, I'm always studying stuff. I was reading about 8 weeks out from my contest and reading about stubborn fat, which for men is typically your love handles and your lower belly. And for women, it's typically your glutes and your thighs. So if you touch those parts of your body with your hand, they're usually colder because they have a very poor blood supply. That's part of what makes them stubborn. So I want to get ripped for this show. My wife had never seen me compete, and I'm reading about stubborn fat. And the only way to increase blood flow to those areas is through fasting. So the next day I adopted it, and that was 2014, and I was doing your typical, what people call intermittent fasting, like a 16-hour fast. But it was a lot of improvement, like a lot of just, it made eating easier. It was more enjoyable. It was more liberating, and it was easier to stay in shape. So I knew I was onto something. And in 2019, I dove back into the research and started doing longer form fasting, like 1 meal a day, 48-hour fast, 72-hour fast. I've played around with all these things. So now what I teach people in my program, what we start out with, and then I adjust it. And then what I do on my regular basis when I'm not doing something more is I do a 48-hour fast every week, Sunday night, Tuesday night, and then 1 meal a day. And I love to eat. And it's been so much, I feel like I'm reverse aging. And I've had that validated by some other therapists too, which is the quality of the muscle tissue, low acidity, all this type of stuff. And I feel great. And I love to eat. So when I eat, every meal I get to eat in my mind is the best meal ever. I'm so gracious for it. You know, I'm blessed for that meal. I don't take it for granted. So it's a fast and then it's a feast. And people dramatically change their health and their body composition doing this. But what it really is about is getting control of your mind and having the discipline. That discipline of fasting is then going to lead to self-mastery. So the fasting to me is like a foundational thing that I know I can always tap into no matter what else is going on.
Right. And like you said, it's just a practice of kind of like making that choice. And if you discipline your mind, because you know this is something you can do, and it's up to you to tap into that power. So with us doing certain type of techniques and practices like fasting, for example, we just fuel that power that we have within us, because we're in control. We're the ones who choosing to do it. And then, like you said, it's fasting and feasting, and then we enjoy more of what we eating as just like a regular meal, or even like going out with somebody. It's creating a different experience, because we don't really feel grateful for what we have, because we take it for granted. And again, like once you start kind of like restricting yourself in a way, you start appreciating it more.
Right.
And then you have a better experience with that. Don't you think so?
Yeah, 1,000% you do. Like when you always have access to something, and like food, it should be enjoyed, right? Food is a drug, right? And it has negative consequence on most people, but we should use that drug of food, right, to really enhance our life. Moments of could just be a daily dinner. That's typically what I do, because it's more, with my wife or my family. But it should be a celebration almost every time you eat, and it brings a completely different mindset to it. And there's all these other benefits too, like you get back more time, right, when you're not stopping and starting to eat all this stuff. And it sounds harder than it is, and it gives people control. Most people have dieted. This is completely different metabolically, but they've dieted and they've failed because they've gained all the weight back and then some, right? So they have this pattern of failure. But when you fast, and I work on the mindset where it's really a decision, which is based in the Latin word, which means to sever. You cut yourself off from any other possibility, right? So we work a lot on the mind, the brain science with this, but it gives them control over one area of their life, and that starts building their confidence, right? Because it's not portion control. It's not, I got to tally my points. I can't have any carbs. It's none of that stuff, right? Eating limited periods, limited frequency. That's it.
Yes, and it sounds easy, but sometimes people, when it sounds easy, they don't even try it. That's the thing. They kind of like think it will fail from the beginning without even trying it and giving it time, because it also takes time. It's not overnight. You have to develop a habit of it. We are creatures of habits, right? And again, like whatever we are doing now, usually it's because of habits that we develop over time in our lifetime. And if we just replace them with a more positive habits, that would also bring us into a different level where we can thrive.
Yeah, and it's everything is about like the brain science I was talking about. That's what it is. What I teach people is the science of habit formation. Everything's habits, right? And the more we can have a habit, the more we open up our mind to be available to new opportunities or threats that we have to deal with. So the habit is really a survival mechanism, but everything, comes down to your skill set, mindset, and your habits, right? Skill set, mindset kind of feed into the habits. So it really is. That's a great point by you. about the habits and laying down that brain track, that network in your brain, that this is just what you do, no matter what's going on.
Right. And also, we have to kind of find time for self-care on a daily basis, because nowadays people feel very stressed and anxious. They're working hard and they're not focused on what's important. And they kind of like always come up with excuses. Why would they not exercise, or why would they not give them some time to like meditate or do some other practices that will eventually build that foundation for the successful life? What would you recommend them how to become more mindful and more present, and to kind of catch themselves in that negative thinking pattern and disrupt it, and realize that we should focus our energy in more constructive way?
That's a great question, right in my alley. I love that. That's a great question. So it's self-awareness, okay? So most people have not developed a level of self-awareness because they don't practice the right things like meditation, which we'll go over and all that. But the self-awareness gives you the ability to catch your thoughts. So when you start having this negative internal dialogue about why you can't succeed, why it doesn't work, why it's somebody else's fault, most people never catch those thoughts, and they just kind of snowball, and they build momentum. Right, which is the momentum is why people won't start a routine, because it's, oh, they're comfortable over here and they got all the momentum going that way. So it's really about being self-aware. And how do you do that? You start practicing meditation, breathing, and the purpose of those things, those are mental training for when you're having bad thoughts and anxiety and this stuff. And you can say, wait a minute, why do I feel that way? Because the way you create anything, the process of creation is thoughts, words, and action. Starts with your thoughts, then the words, your inner dialogue, and then what you're verbalizing and actually speaking out loud and writing down. So your words. And if you catch yourself when you first start this, because your brain is hardwired for the negative. So it is very common for everybody to have negative thoughts all the time. So we got to actively try to catch them in reverse course. But next time you catch yourself with a negative thought, catch it and immediately restate it and say it out loud to yourself. And you start getting into that pattern. You catch those thoughts and you change them. Right, because it's your thoughts are what's creating the reality.
Right, and we need to realize that we can choose thoughts that we're thinking deliberately in order to, again, speak with ourselves in a more positive way and make those actions from a different place of abundance, because nowadays, with us comparing ourselves with others and also being distracted by social media, we kind of lost in what matters, and we are very harsh on ourselves. Sometimes we talk to ourselves in the worst way that we can talk to somebody else, and we don't realize that. How we're keeping ourselves really stuck in one place and not letting go forward. Because all of that is created in our own mind with the thoughts that we're choosing to think and the words that we're speaking, like you said. And that also creates a certain emotion, because we act upon an emotion that we're feeling. And sometimes we avoid feeling a certain emotion and we like shutting it down and not releasing it. It could be connected to something that happened in the past. And with us being attached to that story, we, again, not allowing ourselves to be our best.
Yeah, it is. And it's the detaching from the story and all that. And the brain is very, very sensitive to judgment, right? So if we think about this, and you brought up a great point, Anna, if we go back to the way we evolved and we traveled around in packs and tribes, if I judge you and we start judging Anna and we move you to the outside of the tribe, what happens to your chance of survival? It goes down, right? This is the way the brain is wired. That's where the predators and enemies are. If we really don't like you and we judge you that much, we kick you out of the group. Chance for survival goes down. So the brain interprets judgment like most people don't like public speaking, because the brain is saying all these people have the chance to judge what I'm saying. Right. And it's not life or death, though, whereas the way the brain evolved, judgment could be life or death. So now imagine when the judgment's coming from yourself, when it's the negative self-talk. That's the most powerful kind there is, when it's coming from you. Because if you don't believe you can do something, guess what? That's the reality you're going to get. If you do believe you can do something, guess what? That's the reality you're going to get. So it's really catching that and having compassion for yourself, but also compression, where you're disciplining and you are trying to get better. right? It's the constant daily, the constant never-ending improvement, constant never-ending improvement. And that's what you
We're
focus on.
always like work in progress, and everything, again, like you're never gonna reach the destination. You will still set a goal that is not really reachable at the moment, but you know that you can all the skills and abilities to go to that direction and take those steps. But you will always gonna be resetting that goal because again, it's just the way we are and it's normal. But we have to enjoy that journey of becoming that person and to acquiring new skills and seeing ourselves grow and helping ourselves from what we can do, and which is everything. The opinion that I have about myself is the only opinion that matters. So we shouldn't be thinking about how that person thinks of me or their opinion. I mean, it's impossible to please everybody. So we shouldn't be even wasting our energy on that, but rather knowing that we can and focusing on to be the best that we can be at this present moment where the power is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everything you said is exact. We have like twin mindsets. That's exactly what I would say. I can't say it any better, but it's you're realizing that we're infinitely powerful, and that your thoughts create your reality. And anything that, and if people don't believe that, right? Like this iPhone, this was a thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
Steve Jobs' head, right? He
Right.
didn't know these things are crazy. He didn't know it would turn into this, but it started, he had a vision. And then he did know it was going to turn into all these different models and keep advancing. But that's having a vision, right? And the people that have a vision that actually go for it, like your champions and all these, they're just living examples that they put their mind to it and they did it. It's not luck. It's none of that. It's that they focused for a long enough period of time on what they wanted to do and they did it.
Right. And it also comes back to how you feel about yourself. If you really feel that you can, and you really feel that you deserve it, and you believe in yourself and you love yourself, that's where it comes from. Again, if you feel that you don't deserve that life, and if you think that person is better than you in some kind of way, you're not going to achieve it. With you putting limitation upon yourself, you're not letting yourself grow. So you have to be clear on what you want, steps that requires you to get to that goal, and put in really like setting a routine in your schedule where you know that it supports you in your decision to get to that goal that you set for yourself. And like you said, having vision is important because everything comes from the thought. And also, if you feel that emotion that supports you into taking the action, I always say you have to take massive action. Don't be afraid to fail, but you have to do it and adjust and learn from what your experience were and see how you can become better. And now with the new knowledge, you can apply it and go forward with that. So there is nothing really that you can call failure, but it's just an attempt to succeed. And it's part of the process because a lot of people get discouraged without getting what they want right away. And they want that overnight success, but not realizing that it takes time and just accepting it as if it's just part of the process and be fully in and being committed to what you're doing is important.
Yeah, that's it. Like you said, the commitment, right? And you're going to fail. Expect the struggle, because if the struggle is the mental and spiritual resistance trait, you need to struggle. Right? If you're not struggling, you're trying to succeed at a high level, you're doing something wrong because there's no resistance. So the struggle, right? And I always use the analogy of like the butterfly when it's going from a caterpillar to a butterfly coming out of the chrysalis. If you cut that chrysalis open and don't let it struggle, it won't develop the muscles and the wings to become the butterfly. It dies because you took away the struggle. So you got to think, you're trying to become this butterfly. You're trying to transition, right? Transform, I should say, into this next level of you. You need to struggle, so you should embrace that. And that's your self-talk. What's great about this problem? Where's the opportunity in this? What did I learn about this problem? right? And your brain will give you an answer to whatever you ask of it. That's the way it works. And the brain can't ignore a question. So that's what's cool about knowing like the brain science, right? Because then you can just start correcting yourself and you start catching yourself with the self-awareness. But it's yeah, the commitment, like going back to what you said, when you take, quitting off the table, if it's not an option, then there's nothing to worry about. You just keep going until you succeed. But when we give ourselves that out, then the brain, right, it's kind of in this gray area. I could go back if it gets too hard. Take that off the table, right? And then all of a sudden, that's not an option. So yeah, it's all winning, right? The failure is just lessons.
Right. So we just need to look at it from a different perspective. And like you said, if we just remove it from the table as one of the options, you don't really think about it. It's just, you know, that you're on your way to a successful life and everything is just part of the process. And again, we need to support ourselves in making the right decisions. And that brings us back to the mindset that we're supposed to always kind of like develop and nurture and know that our mental and physical health should be a priority. So we have to prioritize that, knowing that that is the most important thing that I can do here is to focus on my own self-growth. I'm not responsible for you, but I'm responsible for myself. And that's my job. So, because right now, like, I feel like a lot of people lose focus on what's important. And we need to understand that it's not selfish. It's just, it's gonna translate into your relationship with other people as well. If you're gonna invest in yourself, that's the best return on investment you're gonna get.
The best. Yeah, you can't, it's amazing. Like it's by far the biggest thing you can do is put investment in time and money into your self-development. I've had coaches since 2008 coaching me. I'm in masterminds, I'm in this and that. I've got books it's just constant. And the times I get away from the self-development is when you start slipping a little bit, right? When you go all the way back in self-development and you become the best version of you, even if you're a mother and a father. A lot of them have guilt over this. Listen, if you're not your best self, you can't give your best self to them. You're robbing them because you're putting them first. So you do have to be, in that regard, you have to be selfish in that regard. Put yourself first, go all in on yourself, and then watch what happens with people around you.
Right. And like you mentioned, kids, they always watch you. They learn by example. It's not about what you say to them, but who you being. What example are you setting? And with you putting that time and effort into developing yourself, that's the best that you can also give to your child. First of all, with that example and the energy that you will have and the presence that you can give them. And that just different way of building a meaningful relationship. So not just personal, but professional life as well. And with understanding yourself, you better connect with others. And that definitely a foundation of also creating a business as well. So everything is based on networking and your relationship with people. So we have to kind of develop that skills of emotional intelligence, because that's what important and will bring us to it's just more meaningful way of being.
Yeah, I think it's you have a brilliant way of putting it, Anna. It's it starts with the self, it ends with the self. You create the reality, based on what level you want to get to. You think of it like a video game, like the old school video games. You got to get to the next level. And to get there, you got to beat the boss, the bad guy, right? Like think of Super Mario Brothers. If you can't beat them, that's where you start over on that level, right? But you never go back to the beginning. So you keep starting over just a little bit, and then you figure out how to beat them. And then you keep beating, and then eventually you beat the game. And in life, it's not that we beat it, but we want to win, right? And winning in a competition, a game, you got to have fun and you got to keep score somehow. So make sure you hold yourself accountable to, like, okay, you set a goal, you set a match, whatever it is, but hold yourself accountable and play that game. See if you can do it.
Yes, definitely. And for those who'd like to connect with you, how can they find you online?
Yeah, the best place where I try to have most people go now is Instagram. So the Panda Man Official on Instagram, the Panda Man Official, and we do a lot of mindset stuff. Let's say we because it's a team. You know, I have my editing and film crew, and they're awesome. So we do a lot of mindset, a lot of fasting stuff, a lot of training stuff. So anything that I think could help you get some good habits going and get on the right direction. And if you want to message me, I answer everybody, whether it's voice, text on there, whatever, but I correspond with you directly. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
All right. Thank you. And also in closing, what would you like to tell our listeners as if like was the most important statement for the day? What should they focus on?
What should you focus on? If I was going to narrow it down to one thing and you wanted to have dramatic difference within, let's say, a year or 30 days or 60 days, focus on your self-talk and improving your self-talk, because that is the foundation, right? And that's why having great habits is going to lead to that confidence, where no matter what you feel like, you're doing your workout, you're following your fasting, whatever you're doing for your nutrition, but you're doing it, right? And it's because you're self-aware. So focus on your self-awareness. That's the seeds that you're planting. Watch how they blossom and you could course correct. That's what I would say to focus on.
Yes, beautiful. And the more we focus on self-awareness, the more we become a better version of who we can be. And thank you so much for your thoughts and wisdom. And I had a great conversation. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you, Anna. This was great. I really appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.